Hi everyone. Now in my last video I talked about how autism affects a person's sleep. Now that was out of respect for a request I actually received to cover that topic. And the person confirmed that they had autism, so I focused on that, but I didn't talk about how ADHD affects sleep. They affect it very similarly, but there are differences. That's all I want to cover. Now, before I have to get into it, I first want to make a mention of if you like the content, you want to see more, follow me, leave a like, comment, questions in the comments, requests as well, because I hadn't even considered how that would be really helpful, because then I know what people want to hear about. And also, if you're interested, repost the video just to help raise awareness for ADHD and autism and help me with my motivation with my channel, if you don't mind. Anyway, let's get into it. Okay, so people with ADHD typically experience problems falling asleep, staying asleep, and also getting up in the morning. Now, a lot of that has to do with both the symptoms of ADHD and things like brain activity and the delayed reaction or delayed release of melatonin in the brain. Now, melatonin is a hormone that helps you fall asleep. But if you have ADHD, there's that delayed release. So it's not that it doesn't happen. It does, but it just takes a while to get there. So, yeah, and then on top of that, also, people with ADHD may experience shorter periods of sleeping. So for me, I'll be awake really late, early hours in the morning, and I'll finally fall asleep, and then I'll only be asleep for 3 hours. I think my shortest time I was asleep was 2 hours, something like that. And it's funny because when you get up, even though you struggle getting up in the morning, when you do get up and there's things to do, because your brain is constantly active, constantly thinking and running a million miles an hour, as I keep saying, because of that, you will get up and you will get on with the day. But it's like your body is sleepy, but your mind is wide awake, couldn't be more active, which is very frustrating because you want to sleep. That's the point. Sleep. Not active, sleep. So, anyway, now, sorry, that bounced. Also, people with ADHD often have an inaccurate or irregular circadian clock. So that's just a fancy way of saying basically your body clock, how you judge the passage of time. And because of that, that makes it difficult to fall asleep because you don't know how much time has elapsed since you've been trying to fall asleep. For me, I'll be laying in bed and I'll be thinking, oh my god, I've been here for an hour, or 2 hours, 3 hours, oh, it's probably morning already, and it's only been 20 minutes. So, and that really throws things off, especially if you have a regular sleep pattern, because you'll go to sleep really late, you'll only be asleep for a short amount of time, you'll wake up early, sometimes you may have a spontaneous couple of hours of sleep, in which case that happens to me sometimes. I'll be asleep for way longer than I'm used to, and I'll wake up into the afternoon, and I'm like, oh god, this doesn't feel right, because that's not correct. You're supposed to be asleep throughout the night, awake through the day. That's simple. And then it's if you have ADHD, it's half through the night, half through the day, in the middle of the day, that kind of thing. So, now, the problem is, as well, with the brain release is it just becomes very difficult, and people with ADHD also tend to develop sometimes sort of things like restless leg syndrome, right? So periodic limb movement disorders, and that makes you fall asleep because you're constantly moving, you're constantly shifting, you're constantly uncomfortable. It's you feel uncomfortable, probably are actually very comfortable, you just don't feel it. Because there's always something getting in the way of that process of getting to sleep. And medication. Lots of people, or everyone, I assume, who has ADHD has to take medication, right? And the purpose of the medication usually is to help improve your attention and your focus, that kind of thing. Help reduce impulsivity and hyperactivity. But at the same time, they're stimulant medications Ritalin and Concerta are two of them, and because they are intended to stimulate the brain, but specifically the part that helps with attention and focus, if you're on medication, that makes it hard to fall asleep because the medication's working against what you want to do. You want to fall asleep, but it's telling your brain to stay awake. So I know when I was a kid, it was difficult because I would be trying to fall asleep and frustrated that I couldn't fall asleep, and it would just become this chain reaction of reasons why I couldn't fall asleep, questioning myself. It's not uncommon even to have full-blown conversations in your head, addressing or analysing why it is you can't fall asleep, which is just going to make it worse because you're still thinking. And you don't want to think. You want to shut off. That's the point. And it's like with my younger brothers, one of them in particular, he would spend hours and hours and hours up during the night. I'd spend hours with him, trying to read to him, console him. He'd get restless. It's like on Christmas Eve when you're super excited. You get restless. You can't fall asleep. You're just too hyped. And then he'll think, all right, I can't get to sleep. I'm going to get up. He'll get up and he'll find something to do. I think I need a glass of water. Go get a glass of water, come back to bed. Because he's gone up and done something that further stimulates brain, even though it's simple, he won't fall asleep. So then he'll get up and he'll want to do something else and something else and something else. That's why it's very common also when you're a kid with ADHD that you tend to play video games and watch TV when you can't fall asleep. I did it all the time, for certain. So, and on that point, 50 to 75%, I think, of people with ADHD develop sleep disorders like insomnia. And these sleep difficulties can worsen during your adolescence and into adulthood. So it's a continuous thing. It's not like a period thing, like here or there, or it's only going to last a couple of years and it's gone, you know? I know I got prescribed melatonin to help, because if you get melatonin medication, that will then increase the amount of melatonin being released in your brain and should help you fall asleep faster. So, which is a good thing, because, again, that's exactly what you want to do. Anyway, so, yeah, there's lots of different aspects that come into play, including as well that, fun fact, if you have a lack of sleep, you know, you feel lethargic and you feel slow and you feel tired and lazy and all that. If you're someone with ADHD, you're actually more likely that with a lack of sleep for it to actually help increase your hyperactivity and impulsivity throughout the day. I think it's just because your brain is trying to tell you, no, you need to stay awake. Stay awake during the day. Sleep during the night when you're tired. But when it gets to that point, you can't fall asleep, and the cycle just continues on as that. But the thing is, of course, as with everything that comes with ADHD and autism, there are methods to managing and overcoming it. But it depends on you as an individual. I like music, but it can be simple things, like do you need the door open? Do you need the lights on and off? Do you need the window open? I know people who can't go to with ADHD who can't go to sleep unless the TV is on, which seems a bit counterproductive, but I think it's just because it distracts them from their own inner thoughts, because it's your inner thoughts that are the problem, not what's happening around you. So if the TV's on, they're distracted by the story, what's being said, they'll have their eyes closed, and eventually they'll drift off, right? Yeah, so there we are. But it depends on you as a person. And if you don't know what to do, if you tried everything or you're convinced you tried everything, just look online, because there's loads of suggestions that people who know exactly what you're going through will have and say, oh, well, I tried this and it worked. Oh, well, I do this and it worked. Some people, I think, use like food sometimes, like, oh, chocolate. Chocolate helps me fall asleep. I've heard that one before. Coffee for me, which again seems counterproductive, but I don't know how it works. I'm not a scientist, but it works, and if it works, it works. So anyway, but you can also look for videos like this where people will bring up their suggestions. Oh, this works for me, give it a go, and so on and so forth. But it's all down to you which one works, and I hope you find one. Now, on that note, I think that's about all I wanted to say about how ADHD affects your sleep. And in the next video, I'm going to be covering difficulty keeping quiet, which, if you have ADHD, you know where that's going. So, until then, hope you have a great day. Hope you sleep well. Yeah, and I'll see you soon. Bye.